What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we have an extremely special guest. She hails from Chi-Town. She's a graduate of the University of Tennessee. She's a writer for Quip Magazine. She's a sidekick for the Wrasslecast podcast. Make sure you check them out. Currently West Coast living out in these streets. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Miss Jade to the max in the building tonight. How are you this fine evening, Miss Jade?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I remember when you first started talking about the podcast, so it's nice to see it come to fruition.
Thank you, and I'm appreciate that you were able to be a guest on here. So we're going to start off. We're going to start off with the Wrasslecast. How did you get involved with that?
That was by happenstance. I was new to Twitter and just kind of found my community tweeting about wrestling one day, and just started dialogue with that group, with Don, who's the co-founder and the main host. And one day we were talking because I was listening to the show, after we had, exchanged a few tweets, and he sent me the link and I started listening to the show and like, man, y'all need some more ladies on there. Because I mean, we had Dee Dee, she was on there. I was like, you need some more ladies. And it started with, one episode he had me on there as a guest with Dee Dee. It was the ladies' night episode, the first rendition of that. And it just blossomed after that. And there were more guest appearances. And then eventually, when Dee Dee decided to move on, from the show, I stepped in her place. So yeah, and now I'm kind of at the, they call me the Roman Reigns of the podcast now because I am definitely a part-timer. It's gotten to the point where it's like if Roman Reigns is not on wrestling this week, Jade will not be on the show this week. So yeah, so it's been a fun ride. I've met a few of our community in person at wrestling events. So it's just really cool to have a community of folks of color, Black folks, just talking all things wrestling. We even got a Discord channel now. So it's been a cool ride and made some really good friends along the way.
Nice, and it's super dope that they, well, for lack of a better term, acknowledge you.
They do every time I'm on there. I make sure they do.
I love it. You worked your way into the rotation, and you like, I'm not giving this back. I respect it.
No, I know, no, I love it. I can't be there all the time like I used to be, just because of the way scheduling is with work and life. But when the times that I am there, I make the most of it.
There you go. So, growing up in Chicago, let's get into that. What was that like for a young Jade?
I guess everybody obviously has a different experience, but for me, I mean, Chicago, that's home. No matter how bad people talk about it. Somebody was talking bad about it the other day. Like, it's so dangerous there. And I was like, okay, don't go there then. But
Right?
no, I think that I always say like people who didn't grow up in cities like Chicago, like big sports cities, with a lot of culture, I kind of, feel bad for them. Um, we have literally every major sports team in that city. And so when I left Chicago and moved out to Southern California, I was just like, they got a baseball team here in San Diego. Um, I do miss that about Chicago's sports culture. Um, but yeah, Chicago, man, that's home. Southsider. I was exposed to so many cool things, being there, different cultures, the food, the sports, the music. I mean, Chicago is a breeding ground for creatives and artists. And one of the things my dad, who's a musician, always taught me growing up, he's like, if your music doesn't do well in Chicago, it's not going to do well anywhere. And it's so true. Um, and I would say like that kind of my parents and my uncles like exposed me to all that different kind of music is where I got my appreciation for all different types of music, which led me eventually, to writing for a music magazine. Just how do I express my love for music? Well, I write about it. But yeah, Chicago's just a great city, man. It's no place like it, especially in the summertime. If I could go back and just spend summers there, I would. Um, but those winters are brutal, but man, it's still a great city. Some of my most memorable moments happened in the dead of the winter. So it's I do miss it. I miss the culture. I miss my people. But yeah, I guess San Diego's my new home now. But
Yeah,
Chicago will always be home.
and I hear nothing but great things about summertime in Chicago, and that's on my bucket list. And I got to make that happen.
You have to. It is a beautiful city. Everybody's outside. There's a festival, three, four festivals every week, every weekend. The lakes. I mean, there's literally a lake and the beaches in the middle of the city. You don't have to go far. Like in a lot of places, you got to go outside the city to get to the lake. It's just the food is that you can find any type of food you want in Chicago. Um, yeah, it's a great city. You gotta go in the summertime. Best time to go.
Noted, duly noted. So growing up on the South Side, I'm assuming that was how you hitched your wagon to the White Sox.
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in a White Sox household. So South Side. The only time I can truly say I've ever rooted for the Cubs was when they played the Padres, out here in San Diego. But yeah, it's always just it's a fun little rivalry between the Cubs and the Sox. Some people take it a little more seriously than others. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
brawls at the games between the players and the fans. So there's there's that. But yeah, we were a White Sox household, still am diehard. I go to Padres games out here with my White Sox gear on, even if they are not playing the White Sox. But yeah, my dad introduced me to sports at an early age, and I've been rocking with it since. I think White Sox baseball was the first thing. He and my mom always tell me that I went to the Super Bowl when the Bears went in the 80s. I don't think I was born yet. I was probably in my mom's stomach then, but I guess I went. So, but yeah, we're a sports family. And for as long as I can remember, I've been rooting for the White Sox, even though this year they are a big disappointment.
Yeah, and I want to get into that a little bit later, but let's talk about some of your earliest White Sox memories and
Yeah,
favorite moments and players.
yeah. So the earliest memory that I can remember is at the old Chicago Stadium. I'm sorry, the Chicago Stadium is where the Bulls used to play, Comiskey Park, the old Comiskey Park. Um, and my dad took me to a game. It was just me and him. I mean, we were up in the bleachers, but it was the best time. And he bought me one of those, I don't know, it was some twirly thing with ribbons. I wanted it. He bought it for me. Um, and it was windy that day too. But I remember he got frustrated with me because there was a guy sitting in front of us and I'm waving this thing around and it was super long, like the ribbons. And I think just as the White Sox were making a play, it like got in his eyes and like wrapped around his face. I was like, my dad's like, I told he was fine. The guy was like fine with it. But that was one of my earliest memories of going to a White Sox game, the old Comiskey Park. I had to be about 6 or 7 years old. But I've been watching the games on TV with my dad. But yeah, it's funny because my dad wasn't even always a White Sox fan. He used to be a Cubs fan.
Really?
But because the White Sox games were cheaper and closer to home for him because he's a Southsider, he would go to the White
Okay.
Sox games. And so yeah, so he just passed that on to us. I don't hate the Cubs. I don't love them. I was happy when they won the World Series finally. But yeah, that was one of my earliest memories going to the game with my dad, and it's something that we do whenever I'm at home. We try to go to a game together. I've even taken my mom to games. She's not into sports at all, but she's a trooper and she will go. Yeah, it's something my nieces and nephews, I've taken them to games. They're a lot of fun. It's
Nice.
a good time.
So what were some of your favorite team moments?
So obviously when they won the World Series in 2005, um, I was actually away at college. It was my senior year, and I was watching the game in my dorm room. And when they made that final out. I believe it was Paul Konerko at first base, who's one of my favorite players. Got that out. I shed a tear. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! I wish I could be at home. Like, I really wanted to be at home for that, but had to get my education. But I was so excited that they had won. Made my mom buy every newspaper the next day. It was when people were still buying newspapers. Um, so she bought all the newspapers and had them for me when I came home for fall break. So that was my most favorite or one of them. Yeah, I would say my most favorite memory because they hadn't won a World Series in my lifetime. The other one was the Crosstown Classic, which is White Sox and Cubs series, when AJ Przinsky got into it with, I forget who it was, one of the Cubs players, and both teams just the benches cleared. And now that you can rewatch it on YouTube, I've rewatched it so many times. It was great. Let's see what else. This isn't a favorite White Sox moment, but it's just a favorite Chicago baseball moment.
Okay.
When Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were having their home run battle. Come to find out, they were both juicing, but still, it was a great time just for baseball in general. And I was like, I don't know that baseball has been that exciting since.
Yeah.
So that was just a really fun baseball moment just in general. Yeah, I think those are probably the ones that I can remember off the top of my head that are like my highlights. Um, I also have to say, during the COVID lockdown, we were getting a lot of White Sox games out here in San Diego. So, just really watching Tim Anderson just really flourish in
Yeah.
2020 and 2021 was really exciting. He was really invested in the city, like moved his whole family to Chicago. Like TA was like, I'm Chicago. So that's also a recent favorite moment from this team.
And you bringing up Sosa and McGwire today was actually the day that McGwire broke Roger Maris's record.
Oh, today was the anniversary.
Yep.
Oh wow.
It's been
It seems like it was
25 years.
good Lord. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem like it's been like 25 years seems like a long time, but then it doesn't seem like a long time.
Yeah. And you bringing that up, that actually was what made me fall in love with baseball again, because I was all out on baseball after the 94 strike, but they
Yeah.
brought me back in.
They had to do something.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get people back into it.
Yeah, and job well done. They did it for me.
That was so exciting. They had me watching Cubs games because I was like, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
People were going crazy for that. That was a fun season. It really was.
It was. So who were some of your favorite White Sox players? And you know what? You can also name non-White Sox players too.
Okay, so my favorite White Sox players, we'll start with them. So Paul Konerko, Frank Thomas, Big Hurt. I was watching baseball as a youth, as Joe Pesci said in what was that movie? In any case, My Cousin Vinny. But as a youth, watching Big Hurt play, Paul Konerko, Magglio Ordonez, AJ Przinsky. I loved Ozzie, and I know he wasn't a White Sox player, but he was their manager. Loved him as a manager. Maybe
Yeah,
they can
he
bring him
played for
back.
them too.
Okay. Not while I was watching.
I got you.
Yeah. And I know he's in like a lot of deep SHIT right now, but Tim Anderson, I still am a fan. He is a trash husband, but he's been terrible this season, but I chalk it up to him having a lot going on in his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I almost unfanned myself when he got knocked out a couple weeks ago. But I was like, bro, you can't start the fight and then get a concussion.
Yeah.
There was like no reason for that. No reason. And of course, I had to watch it from every angle. You know how we do. But yeah, I still like Tim Anderson. Every season is not going to be your best season. So, he's got a lot going on. Hopefully he works that out in the off season. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of distractions this season. I don't know. Maybe Tony La Russa was on to something. They need to bring him back. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And then I saw Kenny Williams got the good old heave ho. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, they're cleaning house. Then they getting rid of everybody except the owner.
Yeah.
He needs to fire himself.
So does
Like
Reinsdorf own the White Sox too?
and the Bulls.
Wow. Because I knew he owned the Bulls. Wasn't exactly sure he owned the White Sox as well, but man.
Yes, he does. There used to be a show on WGN, which is nationwide network that's based in Chicago. Um, and it used to be called Bull Sox Underground. So they would cover both the Bulls and the Sox because they're both his team. But yes, he owns the White Sox and the Bulls, and all of Chicago is just like, well, at least White Sox fans, can you just sell the team? Now he's threatening to move the team to Nashville. Good
What?
luck. Yeah, their contract at the current park expires in, I want to say like 2028 or something like that. So they're saying he's been eyeing Nashville. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, we see what happened with the Titans.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Good point.
uh, so it's just, typical, you know, oh, we want a new stadium and we want the city to pay for it. But I mean, the stadium they have is really it's great shape. I think maybe it's 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like the Cubs have been playing in the same stadium for 135,000 years. You don't hear them complaining.
That's a good point.
so, so yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf, nobody likes him. Nobody's ever liked him. Uh, he's one of those owners, kind of like the Bears owners. Like he wants championship caliber team, but does not want to spend the money
Mm,
on championship caliber athletes and coaches. So yeah,
good luck
but
with
the
that.
white, yeah. So I don't know, maybe I don't know. He's not going to fire himself. He's not going to sell the team. He's too arrogant for that.
Yeah. And you bringing up Paul Konerko, he was one of my favorite White Sox players too. Loved him.
I love Paulie.
I was a big Adam Dunn fan too.
Oh yeah,
he was such a hard luck hitter. He's either going to strike out or he's going to knock it 700 feet. There's no in between.
right. Yeah, Paul Konerko, man, Chicago loved him. They retired his jersey not maybe a few years ago. Um, but yeah, he was just such a leader on the field. Just I don't know, Tim Anderson could learn a few things.
Yeah.
But oh Tim. But yeah, Paul Konerko, he was just one of my favorite players. Yeah. And you're right about Adam Dunn. He's like either gonna strike out or we're getting a grand slam.
Yep.
There was like no in between.
Mm-mm. And also Black Jack McDowell too. Like growing up, he was one of my to this day, he's still one of my favorite pitchers, man. I loved watching him throw.
Yeah, they've had some solid pitchers over the years. It's just this season's just been I ain't gonna lie, I've barely watched this season because it's just been kind of depressing. Um, I almost turned my attention and started watching Cubs games because I just, even look, when Ozzie Guillen says they need to fire everybody, including the parking lot attendants, the season is just in the tank.
Yeah.
So
Like I saw Carlos Rodon's numbers. I was like, holy smokes. Him
yeah,
and Michael Kopech, because I remember I would catch Charlotte Knights games every now and then just because they were AAA affiliate. And he was lights out at AAA. And then he got to those Sox and he just couldn't replicate what he did in Charlotte. And I was like, man, I
it's
felt so
it's
bad for him.
it's the Jerry curse. That's what I'm gonna call it. The
We'll
Jerry
chalk it.
Reinsdorf curse.
We will chalk it up to that.
We'll just blame him. But also, like, we can also blame the manager too. Like, he's got to go. He's got to
Yeah,
go.
that's
I
a
mean,
good point.
it's like with any sports team. If the team's not performing well, you start at the top.
Yeah.
And in this case, we should start with Jerry, but we know that's not going to happen. So you start with the coach. Hey, we got to get rid of him, and then we got to get rid of all his staff too, because got to start fresh.
Yeah. Points were made.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into the 5 question segment. So
Okay.
First and last question I ask every guest I have on here, and questions 2 through 4 are 100% random. So question number 1,
Okay.
what were Jade's ideal school lunch items?
My ideal school lunch items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had a Barbie lunch pail or lunchbox, a little plastic one with a thermos that leaked.
Oh, you had the
Um,
thermos. I love it.
oh yeah, it came with a thermos, but the thermos leaked like
Mm,
every kid's thermos. It just
yeah.
so your sandwich would be all soggy. But I always had a bologna sandwich, either with mayonnaise or just with cheese. Um, and then I had chips, a cupcake or a cookie, and then maybe a piece of fruit. Or yeah, there was usually fruit in there. So that was in grade school. In high school, it was whatever was left over from the night before. So
So what did you use to keep in your thermos?
it was always like juice or Kool-Aid, red juice or red Kool-Aid,
Okay.
just kid stuff because I didn't drink pop when I was little.
Yeah.
Yes, I said pop. I'm from Chicago. Still don't drink pop. But yeah, it was always some juice, some sort of juice, or maybe even water. Sometimes I think it was just water.
Okay.
But it was a thermos where the top turned into a little cup.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had
yeah,
that same thermos. And
yeah, I looked like a
mine was leaky too.
see everybody's leaked. I looked like a little union worker going to school every day with my Barbie lunchbox and my school uniform.
Question question number 2. What was your favorite college course?
My favorite college course. The easiest one was my gym class. That was one of those courses where you're like, I need to get an easy A to
Mm-hmm.
bring my GPA up. That was the easiest one. My favorite, oh, and I took CPR too. That was the other easy one. My favorite course, I think bioethics could have been my favorite course if I hadn't slept through most of it that semester. It was an 8 a.m. class. It was hard to get up.
I
But
feel
I would
you.
have to say my health psychology class and my African studies class. So I took a few African studies class. One was Af gosh, African religions. That was really interesting. I love history. So anything history adjacent, I loved. So African history. And then I also took two African studies courses that were you take them back to back, which just explores literally one like the first course I think was ancient Africa, and then the second course was like you know slavery and transatlantic slave trade to present. So the African studies classes were my favorite. Health psychology, and yeah, those are my favorite ones. And then of course my French classes. So do speak fluent French, but if I had to choose, the history based courses were my ultimate favorite.
Dope. Question number 3. What's a food that you hated as a kid but now love?
I wasn't super picky when I was a kid, except for liver. And my stepmother would make it all the time. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
not eating it. I still don't like that.
me either.
Uh, what did I hate as a kid, but now like as an adult? Huh, that's a good question. You got me stumped here. Oh wait, I hated it as a kid, but like as an adult. You know what? I could say pineapple. I
Really?
don't I don't love pineapples, but I
Mm-hmm.
will eat them. Um, I don't go out of my way to eat them. But yeah, I never liked pineapples, pineapple juice when I was a kid. Now I love pineapple juice. I will eat pineapples. Um, I'm starting to kind of sort of give onions a chance. I hated onions, the smell, the taste, but now I find myself cooking with it more just to bring out more flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't like avocados until, well, I didn't eat avocados as a kid. I didn't know what those were. But I didn't eat avocados until I moved to California. And now I will put avocado on anything I can, like a
That's,
true Californian.
I was about to say you got that first class Cali indoctrination there.
Listen, I was like, hey, this ain't half bad. I put that on everything.
Yeah, I still can't quite warm up the onions. I don't know if I ever will, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I did. Okay, here's one. I hated mushrooms as a kid. Now I love them as an adult.
same.
Cooked mushrooms. Gotta cook them. Sauteed. So yes, did not like mushrooms. Love them now. Yeah.
There you go. Question number 4. Who is your favorite Tennessee Vols player not named Peyton Manning?
Peyton was never my favorite player. It was always T. Martin. And I
Hey,
wasn't even in
talk about it.
Knoxville when T. Martin was playing, but they don't put enough respect on T. Martin's name.
Talk
T.
about it.
Martin, like, yeah, Peyton was putting up numbers. I ain't gonna lie. But T. Martin took us to the championship, perfect season, and he got the shortest streak on campus. And I don't, they did not appreciate him. And they need to put some respect on his name. But T. Martin is my favorite.
Nice, nice.
So
Wasn't
every time people bring up Peyton Man, I'm like, let's talk about T. Martin.
Hey,
Talk
he did.
about him.
He got the chip.
Yeah, he got the job done. He
Was
did.
was Jamal Lewis there too when T Martin was the quarterback?
That's a good question because 1995, I was in fifth grade. So my memory does not serve me
You know
correctly.
what? I don't think he was there yet since you said it was 95.
Yeah. I'm sorry, not 95, 97. Sorry.
Okay, you know what? He might have been there.
So I was in seventh
Not
grade.
exactly sure, but I'll Google it. Question number 5. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
The last thing that really made me laugh, um, just made me just belly aching.
Yes.
It's probably something I saw on Twitter. Um, so I see a lot of, I guess, on Instagram, if you like one thing, it just changes your algorithm to.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of like funny church memes. And so now there's this one where actually yesterday there was this one where it was like if Bible characters had a sitcom, and the ice cream truck is going by now, so I don't know if you can hear it. But there it was like if biblical characters had a sitcom, and it was the Family Matters theme music, and it was these different Bible characters like Delilah who cut off Samson's hair, Abraham when he was going to take his son to kill him in the, oh my gosh, the ice cream truck's at 8:30 at night. What's going on here? Um, crazy. So the funny church memes have been cracking me up. And then have you seen the ones where these memes where there's this cat driving?
Yes.
So those have not been amiss at all.
I agree.
Those I haven't seen one yet that has not made me laugh. But just like in general, I was with sorry, something like not online that made me laugh. I was on my way to Las Vegas on Tuesday morning, and I had a stopover at LAX. And Beyonce had her birthday show that Monday. So it's Monday, September 4th, and September 5th, I'm in the airport, 6 o'clock in the morning. I see this guy just bedazzled out in the Sky Club. And like all the white people were like, what is going on? They were so confused, but I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so I walked past him and I go, how was the birthday party? And he just goes, girl, oh my God, it was amazing. I didn't even have time to go back to my hotel. I just had to come straight to the airport. I mean, just had, because he was just in his zone and I loved it. He looked fabulous. Told me how Beyonce had him out till 3 o'clock in the morning partying, and he had to stop and buy clothes on the way to the airport. He had to change in the Sky Club. So that actually gave me a nice chuckle at 6 a.m. At the airport. But yeah, I think those have been the last I would say this week. And then of course I'm sure there's a lot more. I was just in Vegas for 2 days, so I'm sure there were a lot of things that I saw that just not remembering right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good list. Ironically, with your cat, making its presence felt in the background as you talk
she's
about cat
always
memes.
she always has to make a cameo when I'm on camera because it's always got to be about her. She's such a diva, but she gets it from me.
I
Always got to
love
be the
it.
center of attention.
I love it. So if there's anything you want to plug or promote, floor is yours.
Yeah, read my articles on quitmag.com. Just do a search for my name. Listen to the Wrasslecast. Um, subscribe to our Patreon. It's only $5. I subscribed. Um, yeah, just thanks for having me. I'm asking people to do things they don't want to do, read, pay for things. So the Wrasslecast is free, the Patreon is not, but you can read my articles for free. Um, and yeah, just that's it. I'm really bad at promoting myself. I very try to be humble and
It's all
you
good.
know,
Quipmag, QUIPMAG.com. Get with it.
correct, correct,
Read her
correct.
articles.
Read all my stuff. I write about some dope artists you probably never heard of. It's been a great journey. Been writing for them for it'll be 10 years next
Wow.
year in January. I've written about artists that it's been cool to watch some of the artists that I wrote about really early in their career, just watch them skyrocket. The only one I was disappointed in was Tory Lane.
Oh, yeah.
I interviewed him very early or wrote about him very early in his career. It was like 2000 and I don't know, 15 or 16. And now I'm like, should I take that article down? but but yeah, it's just been really great. Some of the artists that I've covered have gone on to win Grammys and headlining their own tours. So it's been a pleasure to do my part to help them just get their name out there. So,
Nice. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you once again for
thank
being a
you.
willing
Thanks for having
participant. This was
Of course.
a great episode. Make sure you
I
like
hope so.
make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Tell a friend. You can follow me on YouTube. You can find the videos there. You can subscribe to my page at Danny Foxworth 843. And for Jade and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.